Over the last 5 years, I've gone through one of the most incredible human experiences that I think is possible in this life. I've gone from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs, from welfare and getting beat on and living in the middle of nowhere to becoming pretty popular online, making millions of dollars, the cars, the girls, travel, all of it. And while I say those things, the reason being is that I have seen a lot of different aspects of human life at a young age. I've seen what it's like to live a nothing existence. I've seen what it's like to live an everything existence. And this has given me a very good outlook and perspective on the lives that most people live. Now you see, most people in this world live very mundane, forgettable lives. The 99% lives a life that really isn't that meaningful. First, they spend the first 18 years of their life going to an indoctrination camp called school. Then they go for 4 years of fun at college to learn how to get a degree and how to make money. Then they spend the next 50 years using that degree that they earned to live a mundane existence that no one really wants to live, going to the same job, speaking to the same people, making the same amount of money, all the while struggling to get by. And then one day, it's all over and the music stops playing. But 1% of people live lives that they make movies of. 1% of people live lives that people will tell stories of. And 1% of people live lives that at the end of it, when they're on their deathbed, they can gratefully say, I lived everything I wanted to. I don't have any regrets. These 1% have complete freedom, access to whatever they want, and they live lives that are quite literally like a video game. It's almost as if this 1% got handed a cheat code in life and they're playing a completely different game than the other 99% are. And you may not realize it yet, but the point I'm making is that you live in the same video game. We all live in the same video game. And while some of us have the cheat codes, most of us run through life like they're NPCs. If you don't know what an NPC is, NPC stands for non-player character. And it's basically the computer version of characters inside of a video game. It's meant to give the game life and give the game realness and make it seem sort of realistic. The funny thing is, these NPCs inside of these games repeat the same dialogue, they do the same actions, and they do the same thing every single time that you run into them in the game. Now, I want you to ask yourself, is this any different than how most people live their lives? If you work the same job for 50 years, you have the same dialogue, you speak about the same sports, the same games, the same events, the same pop culture, and the same mundane things over and over and over again, are you really that much different from the NPCs inside of video games? While there are people that live the game on the outside, they are the players. They create the rules, they do what they want, they rack up achievements, they explore the map, they conquest, and they achieve great things. Most people are living trapped in the game. They're stuck. They're basically in a simulation and they don't know how to get free. And I hope now you realize there's a very strong dynamic to video games and our real world. And the worst part is there's a system in place that basically keeps you enslaved. And I'm not talking about the Matrix. I'm not saying the elites are out to get you. But what I am saying, and what I want you to be very self-critical of, is there is clearly a system set up for the time you are born, to the system you go through in school, to the system you go through in college, and then the system that you go through to enter the workforce and live a mundane, boring, meaningless existence. But at the same time, there's a group of rebels that spit in the face of this, and they want the cheat codes to the game. They want to live outside of the simulation. They want to live outside of the rules that are set and the system that is put before them from the time they were born. So when I say life is a video game, what do I mean exactly? Well, let's take a look. You have a map or an environment just like a video game. If you're born in one area of the world, the rest of the world is basically shrouded in darkness. You don't know what it looks like. You've never explored it. You don't know where things are. And the world is so massive that you may never get to see those things if you stay in the one small area that you begin. A large part of our life is a conquest of achieving and gathering resources, whether it be financial or material or houses or items or whatever. A large part of our life is the same as a video game as far as achieving and unlocking things. And the population is split up the same exact way that video games are. The 1% are the players that have the cheat codes, while the 99% are the NPCs that cannot even think independently for themselves. They commute to work, they sit at their desk, they type on a computer, they drive home on the same route that they take every day, they eat the same shitty food, they watch TV, they scroll through TikTok, they go to bed, and they repeat. They repeat this existence over and over and over again until they realize it's too late. They're trapped. They have kids, they have a wife, they have responsibilities, and they can't just up and leave and go change their life like they could if they would have known before they were trapped. These are the gas station cashiers in video games. These are the people you bump into on the sidewalk. These are the people that drive the buses, just simply meander through the map that you run into in a game. These people exist in real life. They don't do anything memorable, they don't say anything memorable, and they don't make any sort of impact on the world around them. So ultimately, and unfortunately, they're simply forgotten. But that 1% that I keep talking about, these players take relentless action. These players change and influence the world through their beliefs and the things that they want to get done. And most importantly, these players make a massive impact on the world around them. So for these 1%, these players, these warriors, these are the people that are remembered. These are your Andrew Carnegies, your Rockefellers, your Fords, your people of industry, your Trump, whoever it is that you know their name, you know their life story. Those are the players that make the rules. And the best part of all is that this life works the same exact way. You hear me talk all the time about being an elite man, being a top 1% man. And that's quite literally what I think these players are. These players are the people that push the boundaries. They make the rules. They don't follow the system that's set out before them. While NPCs mope around and complain about who the president is, or that life is unfair, or that evil people are rich, these 1% are forging their own path. Now let me ask you, do you want to be an NPC or do you want to be a player? Because at the end of the day, you do have a choice. This system is basically an intentional loop that is set up to make sure everyone follows the same thing. They follow the same path. They have the same belief system. They believe the same exact things, and they blindly, mindlessly follow whatever trend is happening at the moment. Now think of the last couple of years, which have been very, very clear of the separation between this 99 and 1%. Every time there's a new social cause, everyone throws it up on their Instagram. They put flags in their bios and they mindlessly follow the trend. Now, do you think that 1% is thinking for themselves, or do you think that they're following the same system that they've been put in from birth? Now, I like to call this the infinite loop, and this is what keeps you trapped without you even knowing it. Again, I'm not trying to explain to you that some rich billionaire is trying to ruin your life because you want to make money for yourself. That's simply not reality. But what I do want you to be clear of, and what I truly believe, is that this infinite loop has been ingrained into our society so much that we don't even realize it's there until you're on the outside. It's a psychological process that is designed to indoctrinate every young child from the time they are born. The media you listen to, the teachers you listen to, even your own parents are indoctrinating you with these limiting beliefs. They want you to believe that your life is meant to be average, that you cannot achieve anything great, and that you have to follow this set path. Go to school, get a good job, work hard, have a good career, invest in a 401k, get a nice white picket fence house, and all will be good. Well, newsflash, that doesn't exist anymore. If you haven't paid attention to financially what is going on in the world, that American dream that we were sold as kids does not exist. You're told that you live in the land of the free, while ultimately, if you don't pay property tax on whatever you own, even if you own that property, it's taken from you. If you don't follow the rules, it's taken from you. If you say something you're not supposed to say, it's taken from you. Let alone the food that we eat that straight up poisons you. All the things that you buy are taxed, and everything that you do is surveyed and watched by people above you. Over the past few years, many people have started to wake up to this, but that doesn't mean that they know how to escape. Just because you know you're in a prison doesn't mean you know how to get out of that prison. What you need to do is start to, one, become aware of the infinite loop and start to reject it so that you can think differently. You can think independently of what you are told. And that is the first step in you breaking free, is rejecting the beliefs and the belief system that is put upon you. Now, I can confidently say these things because I've lived outside of this system my entire life. I grew up really poor. I went to school just to get internet access, and then I dropped out. I knew I wasn't going to go to college. I knew I wasn't going to get a degree. Why did I believe these things? I have no idea. My parents wanted me to go to school. Everything pointed me towards the infinite loop, and I simply said, I don't want to do that. So by the grace of God, I've lived on the outside of that system, and I made my own millions independently of having a degree or a career or even a job. So when I tell you these things, this isn't some thing I saw online. This is from personal perspective of watching everything that is happening around me from outside of this loop. In this life, you were dropped into the map with no idea what's around you. You were dropped in with no resources, you're dropped in with no connections, and you're dropped in with no skills. What does that sound like? It's a video game. You were starting from scratch. Your character is level 0, and you haven't unlocked anything at all. When you're at that level, you can't experience the riches of life. You can't find any treasure. You can't live life the way it's meant to be lived. And the problem is, most people stay stuck at level 0 their entire lives because they don't know it's possible to level up and to go do these things. Guys, I literally started from as far as 0 as I think you can get. The whole thing, abuse, all of this, right? So when I say these things, it comes from experience. And whether you're born with nice parents and a little bit of money, or whether you're born like I was, it really doesn't matter because that loop is set out for everybody to get into. Unless you are born to like a billionaire family that knows how the game works and they make the rules, every single one of us is under the jurisdiction of the loop. And you want to know the sad part? Unfortunately, most of these NPCs that we're speaking about have no idea that they're even in the trap. They don't even know what game they're playing, so they can't break out. One day they wake up at 30 years old, they're making $50,000 a year, which is a good old salary according to the government and according to college. And then they realize they're trapped. And then it's too late. I'm 30 years old, I make 50 grand a year, I have a mortgage, I have cars, I'm in debt, I have a wife and kids. I live in a decent house, I guess I have a decent, comfortable life. But when I realize it's too late, I'm stuck. What am I going to do? Leave my wife and kids on the street because I want to go pursue a dream? At that point, it is too late. It's like they just woke up out of a trance, but they can't do anything about it. It's incredibly sad that these people don't even know where they get the beliefs they have. They simply heard them from somebody else and it became their own. They didn't choose the school they went to as a child. Somebody else did. They didn't choose the college they went to. Somebody else did. They didn't even really choose the career or life path that they wanted to. It was either option A or option B based on whatever salary sounded the nicest. And then at age 30, they look around in disbelief. How did I get here? Where did the time go? What happened to my life and my dreams that I had when I was a kid? No free will, no control, and no power or freedom over the life that they live. The same job, the same food, the same routine, the same life set before them until it is over. Now you tell me, is this infinite loop just something I'm making up, or is that a reality of our world? It is exactly what I'm laying out for you, the path that is ahead of you as well if you don't get out of the way of this loop. I don't know about you, but the thought of living a rinse and repeat life every single day until I get buried 6 feet under the ground was something that I could not let happen. But hopefully, by you watching this, you are now aware of what is laid out before you. And I want you to have a sense of urgency if you're watching this video. This is not something I'm telling you lightly. This is not something that I take joy in telling you. But by the time you're 30 and you have kids and you have other responsibilities, it is too late for you to change. If you have to take care of other people, that is your responsibility. And that's an honorable thing. But once you get to that point, you're kind of out of options. So it has never been more important that you have a sense of urgency to make sure that you get out ahead of this thing before it traps you. And I want you to be self-honest with yourself. If you look at your life right now, are you living like an NPC or are you living like a player? Do you go to the same place every day? You eat the same food, you have the same routine, nothing changes, and you complete the same boring routine every single day of your life? Or are you making the rules? Do you just feel like on a Monday morning, you're gonna go play tennis? Or maybe you're gonna go to a boxing class? Or maybe you're gonna take a trip to the Bahamas just because you can? I want you to be self-honest while you're watching this video and take a look at whatever situation you're in right now. It's not a bad thing if you are an NPC. It's not a horrible thing if that is the life you're living, because now you're aware of it and you can change it. So audit your life. Are you around the same people every day that are bad for you? Do you have the same habits that are ripping you apart day by day? Do you live a soul-crushing life where you literally are not chasing any dreams or doing anything that you personally want to do? Because if you are, and you're doing absolutely fucking nothing to get out of it, you are stuck in that loop already. You are living somebody else's reality and living by someone else's rules, and your mind is held hostage. Now look, I know what I'm saying sounds a bit dramatic. I know it's a bit deep, it's a bit heavy. But now I'm going to show you how to get out of this. I don't want you to live a life that you don't love. I don't want you to live an existence that at the end of, you're full of regret and you did nothing meaningful with your life. You don't impact the world around you. You don't impact the people around you. And you simply are playing NPC for the rest of your life. So let me show you how to become a player in this game and take back control. But first, let me ask you something. People will complain to no end that life is not fair. Why do some people get freedom? Why do some people drive nice cars? Why do some people live their lives the way they want while others are simply stuck? They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get out of it. That is what the NPC wonders. Why are there millions of people that are living lives as NPCs wondering, how do you make all this money online? How do you do all these things? While the players laugh at them because they simply don't get it. If it's so hard, why do I personally, at the age of 23, know hundreds of people making anywhere from hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to millions of dollars a month to even several billionaires? It's because every single one of these people saw the literal prison sentence that was laid out before them, and they got out of it before it was too late. Let me explain. Like I said, when you are dropped into this world, into this map, you are born with no resources, no skills, no knowledge, and no understanding of what the map looks like, just like a video game. And whether you realize it or not, there is no such thing as a neutral move in life. And what I mean by this is you are either going towards freedom or going towards shackles. There is no move that you make that simply is a net. It's like a game of chess. There's no such thing as a move that is simply neutral. It's either good or bad. And it starts when you're a child. You go to school. Answer this honestly. Are your teachers people that are living their dream lives? Are your teachers people that are doing what they want in their life? Do they really want to be a teacher making $40,000 a year? No, more than likely not, which means they are slaves to this infinite loop as well. So what are they going to do? They're going to put their limiting beliefs on you. Every time somebody that is in the loop sees someone else trying to become successful, it causes massive discomfort to them. It triggers everything internally that they've been taught their entire lives, and they don't like it. That's why if you've ever talked about business or making money or being healthy or good habits or living a good life around people, and they start to put you down, they start to slander you, they start to become uncomfortable, it's because their brain is wired into this loop, and it does not want anyone to think independently of what everyone else does. The music, the media, everything that you consume as a child is pushing you towards this loop. I want to use somebody that just graduated high school as an example here. You just finished your 12 years at an indoctrination camp called school, where you're taught to get a good career, get good grades, and to do the basic, just normal path. You've been fed trauma from all of your teachers, all of the broken homes around you, and everyone else that has a limiting belief. It might even be your own parents, which is the worst part. You've been taught that you need to comply with your authority figures to do simple things like get on your phone, drink water, go to the bathroom. But even worse than that, you've been dealt your options. You see, the biggest fallacy of life is when you give someone two options, they believe there's only two options. If I say, hey, pick option A or pick option B, people will never pick option C or D or E. They simply only can see the two options that are laid out before them. Your basic options are as follows. Pick a mediocre career path, go to school, compete with 50,000 other kids trying to get into that mediocre career, and maybe one day when you're 50 years old, you'll work your way up to 6 figures a year, which by the way, is still taxed and you're not keeping 6 figures of that. Or spend a decade becoming a lawyer or a doctor and getting a nice high-paying career, but after giving up 10 years of the best years of your life. Not to mention going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt just to make that nice 6-figure a year salary as a doctor or a lawyer. So let's break down these options. If you do any other career, basically out of college, other than lawyer or doctor, you're looking at $50,000, $60,000 a year for the first at least 5 years of your career. And if you look at the average tuition of any decent like state school, you're paying $40,000, $50,000 a semester to go to college. So that means by the time you graduate, you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, but good for you, you're making 50 grand a year. So it's only gonna take you 4 years of if you had no expenses, no taxes, no liabilities at all to pay back the debt you owe. The average salary of a college graduate in 2023 is $50,000. So if you factor in rent, a car payment, normal expenses, actually living somewhat decent of a life, you would be lucky to put aside $10,000 a year towards your student loans. The average American can't even save 20% of what they make a year at the current financial state we're in. At this rate, it'll take you 20 years to pay back the debt you acquired from those 4 years to get that degree to make $50,000. Not even considering all the interest you're going to be accruing during those 20 years. So when you're roughly 42 years old, you'll be debt-free. Congratulations, you're now in the game. You're 42, you're debt-free, you're making $70, $80, maybe even $100,000 a year, and you're starting from zero. This is the silent trap that people want you to go into. This is what I want you guys to be aware of because that is the most vile existence that I could ever imagine. Now, let's look at option B, becoming a doctor or a lawyer or something with a high-paying career. This is basically an inflated version of option A, except it's going to take you 10 years of your life. So you get your 4-year degree, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Then you go to undergrad. Then you go to medical school. Then 10 years later, while you're maybe $1 million in financial debt of student loans that are accruing interest, then you can start to do residency or practice law. And then you can start to make a little bit of money a couple years later. So you're looking at what, 10, 12 years of your life gone, spent inside under fluorescent lighting, studying all day over something important, but like you can let other people do that. You don't need to become a doctor if you want to live a good life. Who wants to waste 12 years of the best years of their life inside studying to pass a test? You really don't even start playing the game until you're 30 years old if you become a doctor or a lawyer. More than 75% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck because of this trap. 57% of Americans couldn't even afford a $1,000 emergency unexpected expense right now. 57%, more than half of America couldn't afford a $1,000 surprise bill. What does that tell you? Most people go to college, most people go to this career path, and most people live these lives. And most people can't even afford a $1,000 emergency. So don't believe me when I'm telling you this. Look at the data, look at the stats, and do your own research. And you tell me if the career path, the infinite loop that is laid out before you, is a good idea in 2024. And the worst part, if you've ever seen the movie Fight Club, it's the most realistic example of this. On top of all of this, you're fed marketing every day from big corporations that want you to buy a nice car, a nice apartment, nice clothes, get that designer so you can look like your favorite celebrity. And you buy all of this junk so you can fit in and you can feel like everybody else. You can feel like you're living life, you're adulting. Have you ever heard somebody say, oh, I just made a big boy or a big girl purchase, and it's putting themselves $50,000 in high interest card loan debt? Yeah, it's the dumbest thing you could ever do, but most people don't even see it. So now not only are you trapped making no money, you're trapped living a mundane existence, now you're trapped financially because you have to pay for all this junk that you got talked into buying. So now forget ever escaping the trap. You have to pay off this car for the next 7 years. You have to pay off this apartment or this mortgage. And guys, I don't know if you know what's happening in the world right now, but if you go get a mortgage, it's like 8 or 9% interest rate, meaning if you buy $1 million house, which really, at least in the area I'm in, is a piece of shit house because of how crazy the market is, you're going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest, which is something that is made up. Oh yeah, you owe us interest. You just got to give me free money. How are you supposed to do that making $50,000 a year, making $100,000 a year, and then paying 40% tax, and then buying all these nice things so you can fit in with the Joneses and keep up appearances? That's the secret. And that is why America is in such a bad situation right now financially, is because everyone is stuck in this loop. Imagine your life started at 30 years old. Imagine. The first time you can actually independently make money, and you're 30 years old. You haven't done any nice experiences, no nice trips, never done anything cool, never drove down the road in a supercar, never took a trip to Mykonos in your early 20s, never partied in Europe in your early 20s. Guys, these are all experiences that I would give up everything I have just to keep. Like, that's what's important about life, is the memories you make with the people you love. And if you have no money and you have no freedom, you can't do that. The most fun that these kinds of people, and honestly, probably a lot of you watching this video, will ever get in your life is those 4 years of college where you basically have no responsibility other than show up to class because your money is doing the work for you. The loans that you took out to pay for tuition, yeah, the school doesn't care whether you get good grades or not. They just care if you pass class. Those 4 years are the most fun years of your life because that's when you're partying, drinking, hooking up with people, blacking out, doing drugs. But then when those 4 years are over, you get hit with the rudest awakening of your life, realizing that that wasn't real life and the world doesn't work like living on campus at a college. You remember when I said most people presented with option A or B would choose one of the two? Well, what if I told you there's an option C? Because there is an option C, and that is not to go to school, not to follow the career path, and to start a business. Society will tell you that option C is for misfits and the reckless who will never do anything with their life. They'll never amount to anything. But the funny thing is, I'm a C person. Everyone you look up to online is a C person. Everyone who makes millions of dollars a year is a C person. Name 10 YouTubers, celebrities, influencers, people that you look up to. I guarantee you 10 out of 10 of those people are all C people. Now, how many of them are telling you to go to college? How many of them are telling you to go become a doctor or a lawyer and get a high-paying career? Literally none of them. These people are all screaming from the mountaintops to learn valuable skills, to self-educate yourself, to start your own business, and not go the typical route. This is what C people preach. Not get a nice comfortable career, get a degree, go to school, and live that bullshit life. I don't know about you, but it seems like everyone who lives a life of freedom, abundance, wealth, they all live the lives of these C people. So if the 1% all being C people doesn't give you a wake-up call that you need, I don't know what else will. These are the select few people that have escaped this game. They've written the rules, they found the cheat codes, and they're doing things on their own terms. I want to show you how to escape the path that was laid out before you and to become a C person. Most people are presented with option A or option B, and they don't understand that they don't have to pick one of those. They can pick outside the box. There is an option C that exists, and I'm going to give that to you. The first step in escaping this prepackaged life is that you mentally have to take the leap. Guys, everything starts in the mind. Every great thing that was ever accomplished started in the mind of somebody. If you're going to break out of prison, you have to mentally commit and go all in on deciding that you are going to escape that prison, or else it will not work. So now that you are hopefully awake to what is happening in this world and the path that is laid out before you, and the fact that you do not have to pick option A or option B, that instead there lies an option C for you to choose. I'm going to help you devise your escape plan once and for all so that you do not have to live this life and you can do what myself and my friends and the people that you look up to online are all doing. In the next episode, I'm going to give you the 4-step bulletproof war plan that I used and that thousands of other people have used to escape the infinite loop and live life outside of this reality and to live life in their own reality. These 4 steps will prepare you to finally live a life of freedom and achieve the things that you actually want to achieve. Instead of becoming one of these 99%, one of these NPCs that follows the same looping life every single day. This 4-step war plan is going to become your best shot at getting free, your best shot at mentally escaping the loop, and your best shot at acquiring the resources that you need to do these things. And most importantly, this is going to be the best shot that you have of not only pulling yourself out, but pulling the ones that you love and your family out with you. Because all it takes is one person in your family to get out of the loop to pull everyone else with them. That's what I did, and my family is set for the rest of our generation. So, if you want to escape this life and you want to become one of the players, I will see you on the next episode.